Welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. Our theme for 2025 is the future of work. Meaning is the new money. In a world shaped by rapid innovation and constant change, the pursuit of purpose and impact has never been more important. I'm Dr. John Dentico, your host, bringing over 30 years of experience in leadership, strategic thinking, and purpose-driven innovation. Here, we tackle the pressing challenges of our time, from the rise of artificial intelligence to the growing need for meaning in the workplace. Together, we'll uncover how leaders can ethically integrate AI to enhance decision-making and keep humanity at the heart of their organizations. Remember, amidst all the technological advancements, in the end, it's always about the people. This podcast is your resource for actionable tools, thought-provoking discussions, and inspiring stories. It's time to go beyond leadership development and focus on leadership impact, creating workplaces where people thrive, innovation flourishes, and meaning truly becomes the new currency. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now, let's throttle up and dive into today's episode. Hello again and welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. It's your host, Dr. John Dentico. With me today is Jyotsna Pahuja, a strategic leader who operates at the intersection of business growth, technology, and human connection. She currently leads strategic initiatives and special projects from the Joint Managing Directors and Founders Office at one of India's top NBFCs. With experience as a builder, operator, and advisor, Jyotsna is known for turning bold ideas into practical, scalable impact. Her cross-functional background spans IT, telecom, BFSI, and EdTech, shaping her ability to navigate complex environments and craft solutions that, whether it's aligning vision and execution or empowering teams with clarity and purpose, Jyotsna helps organizations grow without losing what makes them human. A passionate advocate for India's startup ecosystem, she's committed to making entrepreneurship a more viable and fulfilling path for more people. Her work is rooted in empathy, curiosity, and strategic insight, and she brings a future-forward lens to every conversation. I am truly pleased to have her here, direct from India this morning. Good morning, Jyotsna. How are you?
Hi, John. I'm good. Good morning to you. This is evening for me.
I guess around 6:30 in the evening.
6:30.
Well, that's great to have you here. Let's begin with a question. Tell me a little bit about your background. Tell me where you grew up and what were some of the fundamental influences in your life?
Sure. I was born and brought up in India in a non-business family that valued education and resilience. The fundamentals were community building and following your instincts. I did not start with a fixed career path in mind, just followed what made me curious, what gave me a chance to grow. So I began my career with the tech side of things, working with systems, solving problems, building new products. And from there, I gradually found myself more drawn to why behind the work, the meaning, the cross-functional interplay, the strategy, the challenges of aligning people, systems, priorities, and executions. So over time, I was chasing leverage rather than the verticals. And I wanted to be in the roles where I could create impact across boundaries, across the functional or segment boundaries. So that's how I found my place in the founder's office and strategic roles, where stakes are high, work is dynamic, the value you create is very real. And I've worked as builder, operator, advisor, and I think that blends and really defines how I approach the work today. My long-term mission is to support Indian startups in scaling with systems, clarity, and soul. And hopefully I will be able to help more people feel confident while choosing entrepreneurship as a fulfilling path. In short, how I got into all this was less about a plan and more about my pattern recognition. So following the work that felt meaningful and not just impressive.
That's a wonderful answer. I absolutely agree with you. I think world, certainly in India, certainly in America, we are entering an age of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Or, as one of my prior guests has said, intrapreneurship, the entrepreneurial spirit inside an organization.
Right.
And I'm also a huge believer in things like rapid prototyping and pilot programs for organizations. Why take a big risk? Try some things, and if they don't work out, fine. Just keep, as long as you can dedicate some money to it, eventually you'll find some really worthwhile new ways of doing business. I really appreciate your perspective on that. You've said that strategy should serve people, not the other way around. What does that look like in practice for founders and fast-growing teams?
Okay. So strategy is, on a paper, it's just theory. If you're not executing it in the right manner. Ideas without an operating engine would fail. Your money actions have to be greater than your PowerPoint plans. So think about strategic planning this way. Nearly all businesses try to get consulting services, but nearly 99.9% of those cannot afford McKinsey services. Now, the previously underserved companies can actually access that similar expertise through AI. Recently, Xavier AI released a McKinsey killer. They have created a platform that allows the world's smallest, the very down to the smallest level firms, maybe the cafe owners or farmers, enable them and grab the strategic consulting advice on growth strategies, HR strategies, digital strategies, you name it. And this is just the beginning of responsible AI at scale. This has been applied to various sectors, fintech, banking, telecom, other clients. So the breadth is too much of the application. But one thing this cannot match is the implementation. The implementation which, needs the human integration, the empathy, the creativity part of it. So consulting work is actually divided between strategic planning and implementation. You can automate and give access to the planning part to everybody. But the integration comes via humans.
Yeah, I agree. I myself make a huge differentiation between strategic thinking and strategic planning. You're trying to find answers to questions or solutions to goals.
Right.
Normally created by the senior leaders in an organization.
Right.
Strategic thinking makes sure you're asking yourself the right questions.
Right. Exactly.
Because if you're not, you're throwing money at stuff that doesn't matter. If you don't take a more of a top-down, I'd say top-down, but global perspective on what are we really dealing with. For me, I'll just tell you the magic four is mission. You have to have a mission statement, strategy, plans, and execution. How do you make impact? Because a lot of times what happens is we give people big ideas without a roadmap for taking us from today to tomorrow. I agree. Strategy to me is, the great Chinese general Sun Tzu once said, tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. And I think if you don't have strategy, you don't have some way that you're going to come to the market. What is your offer? Different things like that. You're just spinning your wheels.
Right.
And it just doesn't matter. So I appreciate your perspective. The term founder's office is gaining traction, especially in India's startup scene.
Right.
What's really happening behind the scenes in this kind of role? And why is it so critical today?
Right. I'll tell you how these roles actually originated, the generalist roles. There are different names to it. You call it founder's office, you call it chief of staff, you call it strategy and ops, entrepreneurship in residence. It evolved from a need. Startups needed shape shifters. Early stage companies could not afford deep org charts. They needed high agency people who could jump from product, ops, marketing, finance, hiring, whatever helped to move the businesses forward. These people were not hired for a particular function. They were hired to make things work. This gave rise to the unofficial generalist roles that were about outcomes and not the titles exactly. So the execution demand, previously we talked about the execution gap between plans and actions. As companies scaled, founders had vision, but they had no time to execute that. So teams had functions, but no glue integrating them. So entered the founder's office roles. Someone who could connect, unblock, build systems before the org charts caught up. Now, this is an asset class, especially in India. Top companies are deliberately hiring generalists early. They are the force multipliers. You will see them everywhere now in VC-backed startups, D2C growth companies, fintech scale-ups, tech-led NBFCs, and even larger organizations that are trying to stay agile. Think of it as a very fluid and high trust execution layer. The people doing these roles are often handling very high impact cross functional projects and directly for the founder or the leadership team. So you are in the leadership meetings, but you're also in the weeds. You're looking at the operational and messy part of it. Maybe you're launching TRs, running project reviews, fixing processes, talking to users, vendors, partners. The role is very dynamic. Today, you're doing a product sprint this morning. Evening, you will be prepping for an investor meeting. I've lived this role. It is part chef, part firefighting, but a lot of emotional intelligence.
Very interesting. What a brilliant idea. And I have always thought for a long time in organizations that there has been this lack or absence of the people who do the execution. So I guess what you're saying is these founders' offices, these offices of generalists,
Yes.
are given the job of taking the ideas and making impact with them.
Yes.
Does that sound about right?
Yes, exactly correct. Turning your ideas into reality.
You've been in a founder's office yourself or are currently in a founder's office.
Yes.
How do you like the job? How do you enjoy the role of being in a founder's office? I'm very curious about that.
So it's very enthusiastic for me, especially because I was never chasing the linear progression, the title track. I have always been chasing diversity of the experience rather than having one narrow goal, one title, one promotion. My portfolio is about the range, the skill building, and the intentional pivots. In this portfolio career, you're not actually climbing, but you're curating. Every role, every short term project is adding to your depth and adaptability. And that's what I have really enjoyed about this role.
So very interesting. Instead of climbing, you're curating.
Yep.
I've got to remember that one. That
Yep.
was terrific. That's really smart. I'm going to do more research on founders. I have to say, it's kind of a new idea for me, but I will research that. I think it's such a brilliant perspective, a brilliant idea. Thank you for bringing that here to the podcast. I appreciate that very much. Let me ask you this. We're seeing a shift from traditional career ladders to more fluid career portfolios. And I think the founders may be very much in that, if in a manner of speaking. What advice would you give to professionals navigating this new world of work?
I think the world is actually changing right now faster than the organization charts can. Younger professionals value meaning, autonomy in decision making, and variety in their day to day work. So, a lot of generally have rewarded tenure, but not the impact. Now, this is interesting for younger professionals who value the variety of work, the impact they are creating, so they can build their career in sprints and reinventions. Because we are now no longer in the age of 20-year plans. We are in the age of aligned and adaptive choices. So, anybody who wants to get into this kind of role, I would say definitely go ahead for this. And this is going to be your X factor in your career, because this gives you a chance to working early with the leaders in your career and have the front row seat to see how businesses are built around the world, how decision making is done, the levels of decision making, the operational, tactical, the management level decisions, how they see the data, how they make data backed decisions. This is going to be the X factor for you in your career, definitely.
Wonderful explanation. I can tell you right now, my head is exploding in the sense that I can see how exciting, I
Yes.
mean, truly exciting this could be for young professionals, especially as we both acknowledge that meaning is the new money, right? Meaning the younger generations, it's not about me, it's about we.
Yes.
And how do we, the transformation of organizations today to be able to provide the opportunities based on meaning, as opposed to, oh, well, you're going to climb this ladder, you're going to make so much money, those kind of things. Sure, I get that. There are people who want to be specialists. I just want to do this. I want to move up the ladder and do that. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But the real transformational factor now will be with generalists who are given opportunities to say, here's the idea, turn it into something, do something with it. Let's make an impact. Wow, what a great perspective. I appreciate that so much. I will tell you at this point that I am in the process, personally in the process, of revamping my whole perspective as it comes to the workplace. I am getting ready to put a series of courses on Udemy
Okay.
and in tune with exactly with what you just said. And I refer to it as the Throttle Up operating system. We need a new leadership operating system in the world we live in now. We can't manage people today, these multi-generational workforce, with the old ideas from the Industrial Revolution. It's a whole new world. AI, the aftermath of COVID, people losing trust in the institutions. And now you have to really build trust locally more than anything else.
Yes. You have
So
to be
I'm in the
hyper-local.
process, and it has to be local. And I'm on my way. I'll be there in a couple of months to preview these new ideas, but I am on board with you 150%.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your comments. So timely and in tune. Let me ask you this question. We'll move on to another question if we can. I'm blown away here. I'm amazed. It's just phenomenal. You've mentioned emotional intelligence as a competitive advantage. How can leaders practically develop this muscle, especially in high pressure environments?
Okay. So the biggest mindset shifts leaders need to make in this era and have the emotional quotient high is, one is they have to stop micromanaging and come to a state where we are managing the outcomes. You have to trust that team to own the how. You only own the why and what part of the rest they are going to take care of. Number two is, especially in this world where we are in a post-COVID era, we are not in a completely locational work era. So number two, I would say is we have to go from availability to intentionality. Async work is going to be much better communication. And we do not need to overdo that. We just need to have intentional async work communication. Then number three, we need to go from thinking about perks to the purpose. People don't actually stay for pizza. They stay for impact. They stay for growth. They stay for trust. So the old playbook of managing by walking around is not going to work. Leaders have to design the visibility and not just assume it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you want to build empathy, too often what I see is people talk about empathy this, empathy that, those kind of things, and they provide checklists. Okay, fine. If that's your path, fine. For me, the best way to build empathy is one of the ways is cross training. Take somebody who's in finance and send them over to marketing. This kind of follows the founder's idea. The generalist, I want to give them more of a generalist perspective on what the organization does. So you come out of finance, you go to marketing. From marketing, you go to operations. You spend some time and you see what those people do, what they live through every day, the issues and the concerns. So in a sense, I never thought about this before until this podcast, but you're building that core
Right.
of generalists who become the doers,
Right.
who become the people who take the ideas and understand perspectives from different elements, have built empathy, and they're now the ones in the hot seat, if you will, who are actually making the changes real in an organization. I'd love to get your reflection on that if you could.
Right. You talked about somebody who wants to grow the skill of emotional intelligence. They might do things like observing more than you react. Notice the tone of your peer workers, their body language, their energy. And you may ask, what's not being said in the meetings? So, in a world where tech can replicate almost everything today, empathy, curiosity, and emotional clarity create the real competitive edge. They are free, but people do not practice it. These qualities are like rarely.
Oh, I agree. I think that you're absolutely right on the money. I think people have got to practice it now. If they want to really engage this multi-generational workforce.
Yes.
And it's not like me, I'm a boomer, right? It's like we're foreign from this. It's not like we don't want this. We want this. We just haven't had it as the top layer of our layer cake, if you will. It's been kind of hidden from the boomer perspective. But I can tell you, for me and for many of my friends and associates, the ability to create this level of connection in an organization, to be part of really what matters, is so very important.
Right. And talking about this multi-generational mix that we have in the work right now, currently we are dealing with 5 generations together. So you talked about boomers. I'm millennial. And this is the largest generation in the workforce right now. We are very tech savvy. We are collaborators, craving purpose and flexibility. Boomers right now remain in leadership positions. Maybe some are slowly retiring, but they are exceptionally known for their work ethic and loyalty.
Yeah, they're good. I can remember when I was a naval officer, and when I was 22, I was searching for meaning, and the Navy gave me that. A tremendous level of meaning, especially when you were on a ship. You had to figure things out. You didn't have answers. You had questions. You had to get that done. I truly appreciate your perspective. It really sings to me. The other thing I've talked about a lot lately is values alignment. The idea that, especially in the younger generations, there has to be an alignment between that individual and the organization. They have to meet in the middle. When we talk about mission, I talked about mission statement earlier. Too often organizations don't express their values in their mission statement. You get 7 paragraphs of what the mission statement is instead of one clear, concise statement that says, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is where we're going. So people can go, yeah, I want to be part of that. I want to work with those people. Sounds like they're playing my tune, so to speak. I'd love to get your reflection on that as well.
You have to create meaning in your work by aligning the strategic thinking with the impact. Meaning shows up when you know why you're doing something and see how it helps others. This supports my mission. I told you my mission is to support Indian startups and help more people choose entrepreneurship. This is what drives me, bringing meaning to that. Now, talking about my personal mission, everyone, dreams of building the next unicorn. But the harsh truth is 95 out of 100 startups do not survive beyond 5 years. And it is not because the idea was bad. They collapse because there was no market need. Maybe you're building products that nobody actually wants. Maybe you're just burning cash and considering that you're earning like a startup and spending like a unicorn. Maybe you had the wrong founding team. Maybe you had no clear strategy. Maybe you had bad execution. Maybe you have ignored the customer feedback. So businesses don't fail overnight. They bleed slowly from indecision, from mismanagement, from ignoring the fundamentals, ignoring your vision and where you diverted from it. So before starting up, ask yourself, am I solving the real problem? Can I manage the operations, the cash flow, the team, the customer success? Am I building a business and not just a product? And then you have to stick true to that vision and mission statement of yours rather than just diverting from it, seeing a shiny trend somewhere else.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I see so many times, that all these new products and services coming out. And to me, I always call them the shiny new thing. Here's the shiny new thing.
Yes.
And everybody, oh, we should have that. Well, maybe.
Hmm.
I mean, how does it fit into the strategy? Is this part of your mission, part of your strategy? Or are you just out there shopping and thinking that you're buying the shiny new thing without ever considering whether or not it's going to pay for itself? Does it matter to how the organization runs? I agree. The halls of business are lined with the empty carcasses of organizations who never thought about strategy, who never said, maybe we should take a step back and see if what we're doing makes sense to where we want to go.
Right. So time
In
for
America,
reflection is very necessary.
So, I think you're right. You are spot on the money this morning. Perfect. I appreciate that very much. Let me ask you this question. We're getting close to the end, so I want to ask you this question and we can go from there. If you could redesign one element of how modern businesses operate, what would it be? And why do you believe that change is urgent?
If I had the magic wand to change something about the current work culture in modern businesses in 2025, I would eliminate performative productivity. We celebrate effort over impact, busy work over alignment. If we measured what truly moved the needle, we would be able to create healthier, smarter workplaces as well as much better business outcomes. Now, I would decode it a little for you. What is performative work? Appearing busy without doing meaningful work. So, Slack did a survey recently. They shared a report on it where they differentiated between performative work and productive work across multiple countries. I don't remember the number of countries now. They approximately surveyed 18,000 desk workers in 9 or 10 countries. This was done in 2023. And they published a report, Slack State of Work 2023, where they differentiated between performative work and productive work percentages. India was highest in doing performative work, where the report states that Indians spent 43% of time in the performative work looking busy, while only 57% was the productive work, where they were actually doing the purposeful work. So the number was approximately 37 and 36 somewhere in Japan and Singapore. US respondents and those from Germany said they only appeared busy for 28 to 29% of the time. In 2025, the workplace is where you need to find your purposeful work rather than just looking busy. I would definitely avoid performative productivity and move towards measurement of outcomes and avoid the sort of counting the hours, counting the number of hours people are putting in, counting the number of days, etc.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And it sounds to me like India is on the right track in terms of the founders groups now in
Yes.
organizations.
Yes.
I think it's catching on and people are starting to understand. So hopefully those numbers will shift
Yes.
because now you're going to have the impactful founders groups
Yes.
in Indian organizations focused on getting things done. Jyotsna, I got to tell you, this has been an absolute joy, a pleasure, and just so informative. I say all the time, I've learned so much from my podcast guests. They have changed me. They have altered my way of thinking, and I am so grateful for that. Thank you this morning for being here, or this evening in where you are,
Yes.
for being here on the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. I wish you all the greatest success. You're going places. No question in my mind. I can't thank you enough for your time. I wish you all the success in the future. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, John. I'm really honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.